When a chemical plant moved into Carl Booth's Columbus, Ohio neighborhood,
as time went on and they moved, they built that plant over there.
few considered that gases that spewed from nearby silos would end up in their lungs.
Breathing and just dizziness, asthma type situation, coughing, cold-like symptoms.
And even fewer understood just how serious those toxins were. Chemicals like formaldehyde, which is used in embalming.
They didn't know until an explosion.
But often pollution, like in the southeast neighborhood, has to reach disastrous proportion for anyone to take notice, as it did in 1984, or again.
We had an explosion. This one killed. We had a young man to get killed away. He got blowed up. It caused death. And not only sprayed paint, residue, and formaldehyde, but it also shook the foundation and caused structure damage to some of the buildings.
What's the real problem?
David Altman, an environmental lawyer based in Cincinnati, says that it doesn't have to come to something like what Booth and his neighbors experienced in order to enforce laws made to protect people and the environment.
You don't have to have bodies you're zipping into a bag that were killed in order to use these laws. You want to use the laws ideally before there's any harm whatsoever to prevent harm. In other words, they're preventative.
In fact, Altman and the attorneys he has worked with helped pioneer a concept designed to help everyday people like Carl Booth and his wife Roberta before catastrophe like an explosion.
They had about 19 explosions over there that we didn't know anything about.
Altman, whose firm only represents plaintiffs in environmental cases, taught people to use a tool called a citizen suit when he first broke into the arena in the early 80s, a time not too long ago when environmental laws were in their infancy.
These are provisions that are in every single federal environmental law, and they allow the citizens to take the law into their own hands after giving notice and enforce the law before they're damaged.
But when prevention fails, Altman and company have been there for hundreds, taking on airports, nuclear power plants, and commanding cleanups of land, air, and water, pinning David against Goliath after Goliath. Marilyn Wall is on the national board of the Sierra Club, an environmental preservation group. About the nature of the cases Altman and colleagues have taken on.
I don't know if any of them are easy or really a slam dunk. It's a very challenging field to be in, and it takes a lot of expertise, which Dave certainly has over the years of working on just about every toxic I've heard of and different types of facilities.
Now in his 60s, this environmental warrior keeps pushing to protect the people and the environment by only taking cases with an almost insurmountable element.
That's the idea of how the law works, and that's the gratifying thing about passing a law, maybe representing the little guy and then having the big guys come in and also use it to clean up the environment. The goal of all these things is to be sure the environment and human is cleaned up and human health is protected. Now, maybe it's foolish to take on nothing but tough cases that are kind of large, but that's what we do.
Produced by DiGiRevolution.